Pro wrestling talk from the four corners of parts unknown. This is That Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome to That Wrestling Podcast. We are back, a 2-week vacation. If you checked out our Brews Next and Brian's sit down with Jason Jones from The Athletic, thanks for listening to those. But we're back. It was a 2-week vacation. And normally we just get into what are you wearing, but let's talk about the last 2 weeks. Brian, what have you been up to while we were on break? Anything fun?
The highlight was I went to one of our members of our shows and his new house at the new southern location of Parts Unknown, Joe and his lovely wife. And we got to spend some time checking out the house and watching Money in the Bank.
All right, well, that's cool.
Great night of wrestling, and good. You know, it was. You know what's funny? It was one of those things I didn't realize till after the fact that literally I haven't been in the same room as him since February of 2020. But it was like because we do this so much, it was like seeing an old friend. It was just like, hey, what's up, man? Like. It should have been so much more dramatic, and it wasn't.
No, because that's like I see you every week.
Right,
so
right, right. And I didn't think about it till later. I was like, wow, I really haven't seen him in almost a year and a half, and it was just so casual. Like, what's up, man? So,
hey, thanks for coming by.
Joe, we'll go to you next. So when we were together last, you had just got your home and moved in. How's the move-in process 2 weeks later?
I would say my battery charge, which actually means something, unlike the NXT one, is probably at 90%. We just have probably 2 or 3 boxes left that we just have to go through. It's just basically what we talked about before the show of why do I have so much crap and what am I going to do with it? So it's a matter of, do I keep it? Do I donate it? Do I put it on eBay? Whatever. Maybe I'll post some pictures of junk that I may want to get rid of, and you tell me on social media at JT_TWP on Twitter. Isn't
it TWP_JT?
No, it's JT. It's the other way around. at TWP_JT. Yes.
We're working out the cobwebs. We've been off for a while.
Yeah, it's been. I check it. I check it daily. It's just basically when you check your social media, do you really check your name?
Most people know what their name is, but we'll let you slide because we have been on break for 2 weeks. I went to Mexico and spent 5 days in an all-inclusive resort, which was cool. The issue for me was that everything was included. You paid in advance, but you could tell that the meals were very just mass-produced. You could get custom things. You don't like onions or whatever, but the thing that really kind of just put me over the edge was we ordered some sort of spinach dip. It came with 3 chips.
What?
Trace chips. And I'm like, what are we supposed to do with this? And then they brought a cup of high school nachos. I don't know if anybody will remember back to the 80s, 90s, the orange chippy nachos. And I'm like, this is the most absurd thing. But what was cool about Mexico was they pushed their tequila. And as someone who usually has beers on this show, I think we might be moving into a tequila segment. For maybe I don't know what the tequila equivalent to brews next would be. We can get creative on that. Off the air. But Mexico was a great time. My buddy Doc came to visit for a couple of days. We'll maybe try to get him on the show. He's a wrestling commentator on the East Coast, big toy collector. Joe, you and him would get along for your horror fandom. And so vacation was good for me. And Kevin, how was your last 2 weeks?
It was good. I was originally going to go to Joe's to watch Money in the Bank, but the day prior, went to Cedar Point with some friends from Louisville I haven't seen in a couple years since we moved more up north of Parts Unknown. The next day after Cedar Point, my body was tired. It was done home at 2:00 in the morning. It was a rough day. And right now I'm calling inside camp. We are camping in Parts Unknown at Yogi Bear
cool.
Camp. So some
Very
family
cool.
time.
Is it like that Geico commercial where like you're cooking all the food and they're like, honey, it's a bear, and they come and take all your food?
Not yet.
We just got there. You just got there today, right? So maybe
We just got here today. So I got out of work. I put on that out of office and I ran because today was crazy at work. So it's nice to talk to you.
There. You didn't have to run.
That's how
so
much you wanted to get out,
vacation was good for everybody. It sounds like we are back, much like the fans in WWE, but we'll get to that in a minute. But first, it's what are you wearing?
What are you wearing? What are you wearing? What are you wearing today? What are you wearing? What are you wearing? What are you wearing today?
All right, so talked about my love for Homage, and the homies at Homage came up with something huge for the NWO's 25th anniversary, the spray paint NWO logo. It is definitely too sweet. Brian, what do you have?
Well, when we left off, guys, there was a whole lot of little jabs at me of someone doesn't got the shirt. Someone's wife hasn't bought him the shirt yet. So I gotta say, guys, I had a birthday a few weeks ago. We did talk about that, I think, and I did get a wrestling shirt. However, it is not the shirt that you're thinking of. And it's actually a shirt that I can't wear because what I got for my birthday is a youth Seth Rollins with the championship t-shirt.
What is that?
Did you get that at Five Below?
I think so.
I don't know what that is. Yes, I do know what that is.
Did it come with the mask?
This is literally it right here. This is literally it.
Skinny dude. Have you at least tried to put it on?
No, God. I literally just opened it in the box 5 minutes before we went on the air. So yeah, I mean, if I want to, do my what are you wearing, it's going to be like on my arm like this. I mean, that's about it that as far as actual wearing goes. But I had to show that off. That was a good little gag.
That's funny.
For my wife, the Seth Rollins with the Universal Championships. That's what I'm representing tonight, whether I'm wearing it or not.
All right, well, we'll get the picture up on social because that's pretty fucking funny. Kevin, looks like you're wearing an Old Faithful.
I am. I have multiple Macho Man shirts. The classic Macho sunglasses. I have the purple tee, but today it's the summertime and it's tank tops. Usually 300, maybe one day not. So I'll say 364 days you can wear tank tops. I'm wearing the Macho Man purple sunglasses t-shirt.
And Joe, bring us home.
I'm going with the newer, older school Jericho shirt. It's You Just Made the List. Jericho shirt from like his last one from WWE, because it's the one I haven't worn yet. I think I've worn the other 2 Jericho shirts. I think this is like my last one that I have.
I wanted to ask you guys too. I know the answer for me is no. Have you guys gotten to the point where you've worn everything in your collection yet? I know Brian is the least enthusiastic about this part of the show. Kevin,
it's hard because if I wouldn't have bought any new ones, yes. But since the show started and I started buying new ones, and I just bought 2 more today because you sent me a damn link off Walmart.com, it just increases. I think I probably have the rest of the year still.
Yeah,
covered.
And Joe,
I'm close.
Yeah.
I'm close. I think I have a few more that I haven't worn yet, but I'm close. If I double up, who cares?
Yeah, I was just curious. Like I said, I know I'm the
Brian's going to Five Below to get a Seth Rollins t-shirt.
Honey,
so
when you're out today, can you go to Five Below and see if they have any WWE shirts for me?
They were all sold out of the Ryback Feed Me More Junior. I don't know. I'll keep looking though.
And then go if you want to pick up a That Wrestling Podcast shirt. The logo's right there. You can also pick up the Brews Next shirt. It's right there. whatamaneuver.net. Just search That Wrestling Podcast. And another quick, T-shirt thing. I don't know if you guys heard this or saw this. WWE put up a new Braun Strowman shirt this week on Shop. Now, I don't know if they're spoiling the fact that he's coming back, if it was something they already had in the works, but it's an olive green shirt. It says "Monsters are real," and I just thought that was interesting. Maybe it's a return, maybe it's just a mistake, but I've been following Braun Strowman on Instagram. The dude is ripped. He looks like Tyson Fury, bald, like a normal cut beard. It's pretty awesome, and he's in this he's into like fast cars and barbecue. I think it's called like Meat Sports or Meat Motorsports or Meaty Motorsports. Go look at me up on social media and www.shop.com for that Monsters Are Real shirt. Don't forget to follow us on social media at thatwrestlepod. Gmails are always welcome, thatwrestlepod@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So, much like we have returned, the fans have returned to the WWE. It started last Friday on SmackDown, Sunday at Money in the Bank, and Monday on Raw. So, Brian, we'll start with you. What did you think about the return of the fans?
Well, as far as me being a fan, SmackDown. Okay, so AEW had a couple of events with fans, like a Dynamite or two, and the last pay-per-view, and AEW crowds are hot. So it really does bring a level of the show up like 10% for me because of how into it they are. So then WWE, the first show was SmackDown. And I did send a text to all of the guys like, all right, who's coming out first? What happens first? We talked, it's The Rock, it's Becky, it's Cena, all these things. And Joe, credit to you, he said Vince. And not only was it Vince, but hearing No Chance in Hell, I did get off the couch. It was like, no chance. I completely marked out. Fans, yes, so far so good. So that they seem to be into most everything. We're starting to get a little more clarity on some of the stories that I'm not sure who's a heel or who's a face. It's like, what do the fans want? So it's great to have it back. It really, really is.
And what about you, Kevin? What do you think of it all?
Just like the fan interaction the thing with SmackDown is when Ray and Dominic, and then you saw the pan to the screen and Edge's music hit, and that place went bonkers. That's when it made
Edge had pop of the night.
Plays a little bit smaller venues, but that looked huge for that SmackDown event. The entrance just looks amazing as well. But when that Edge music hit, it was awesome. I love it. Even I know we're gonna get into Raw. It stunk a little bit here and there, but the fans made it at least 3 hours watchable for me. I love the fans back. I love it. And if I was there, I would too, or cheer on even like the cruddy segments, just because we're having fun.
For me, out of the shows that I watched, I hated the fucking pay-per-view crowd during the Charlotte Rhea match. And hear me out. This isn't about my love for Charlotte Flair, Joe. This is legit
I know exactly what you're gonna say, and I agree with you.
So these fuckers in Fort Worth, we want Becky, and then 10 minutes later, this is awesome. You can't be an asshole and say we want Becky, when you're just being an asshole, and then 10 minutes later say it's awesome. Go fuck yourself. That is the one thing that drove me nuts out of the entire weekend of these live crowds. I'm glad there was no CM Punk chance. I'm really glad there was no AEW shirts in the crowd. I'm a weirdo about that. You don't wear an AEW shirt to a WWE event. You don't wear a WWE shirt to an AEW event. Now, I know under certain circumstances, that's all other people have. People aren't psychos like me, but come on. Just don't do it. And Joe, you'll wrap up our takes on the crowd here. Go ahead.
I'm glad the crowds are back. It makes it more entertaining to watch. It's got to give them an A for effort for trying the Thunderdome. It was way better than Performance Center, nothing. But we really needed people there. And my highlight was Friday Night SmackDown was, I know we're going to talk about returns later, but when Balor came back and didn't smile, this was me the whole time watching SmackDown. Balor's back. When he was there before on the main roster, he was the smiling Irishman who smiled at everything. He didn't smile at all. He just did the Prince, and that's it. He wasn't like the Finn that was on the main roster before. He's the Prince again. No smiling Irishman, happy to be there. He didn't smile.
Yeah, there was. This is a different Finn that was just at NXT.
Right,
I feel
but
like this
one,
is like
but
the
it's not
hybrid.
the smiling guy. It's
This
not the
is like the
happy-go-lucky
hybrid.
one.
There was a little smile, but not like cheesy like before. But yeah, the returns we will get into, and I'm as a Balor guy, I'm glad to see he's back. But Money in the Bank itself, I thought was a good event. Now, Joe, it's time. I love that Charlotte Flair won the Raw Women's Championship again. And what we did learn, the biggest thing we learned was that the crowd, actually in 3 cities, nobody cares about Rhea Ripley. There's no response. There's no reaction. There's no emotion. Nobody cares about Rhea Ripley. She needs to go back to NXT. Joe, go ahead. You know, we'll just start with the Charlotte thing first, because I know you have probably been waiting about. We're not going to talk about Raw yet.
Right.
Wait until we talk about Raw, then you can come at me, bro.
Okay, I talked to Brian about this on Sunday. Charlotte Flair is Hulk Hogan 1993. She is only out for herself. She is not.
No shit, dummy. She's a Flair.
Oh, I didn't interrupt you. I did not interrupt you. You got it. Give me my 2 minutes. And her interview this week, when she said, well, I main evented WrestleMania, why wouldn't I want to do it again? First of all, you hijacked that WrestleMania main event because Becky and Ronda were going to main event anyway, like Brett and Yoko. But then you had to Hogan your way into that match, and you was never going to. She didn't make that main event. She was there for no reason whatsoever, except for she conned her way back into it. I am sick and tired of Charlotte Flair being the only woman that matters on Raw. You said Rhea can go back to go back to NXT. They can all leave because it doesn't matter. It's always going to be Charlotte and Lucy Booten Tights of the month.
No, but okay, so Charlotte won the SmackDown Women's title. That's how she ended up in that main event with Becky and Ronda.
Why? Why couldn't it have just been Charlotte versus Asuka? Because Asuka was in the Battle Royal that WrestleMania instead of being the champion.
Because she lost to Charlotte Flair. She's the best.
Because Charlotte ended up conning her way into it. Don't say this isn't true.
Be fair to Flair, Joe.
Okay,
fair.
so Brian, Kevin,
Flair.
Do you think Charlotte was needed to be the champion on Money in the Bank after 3 months of losing? Wasn't needed.
This is the thing. This is my only reason why I say yes. So she did have 13 or 14 world championships.
No, they're subtracting now. They're making it up.
Exactly. They took away the 2 NXT. And if their true goal was for the belt to go, and I know we'll get on Nikki Cross or Nikki ASH soon, for Charlotte to win it and then to lose it to get that 1 extra title reign, it makes sense to me. For her not to take that right out of the way, it doesn't. But I don't mind the win and loss because it gives her another championship, but she doesn't keep it, and it goes on someone that truly I'm really pumped to see what happens.
She will be in the championship picture all year, winning or losing.
She's awesome. And here's the thing. I am the first to admit Charlotte Flair is the ultimate transition champion. I get it. But, and believe me, I hate the 15 reigns in 4 years because I don't like that. But I do think that Charlotte is the best. We're going to move on a little bit. Brian, what'd you think of Bobby Lashley and Kofi Kingston?
I was a little surprised, but I was happily surprised. It was set up from that previous Monday where something, credit to us. We kind of foreshadowed it as far as feel like Lashley's losing his way. He's got the girls, he's got the champagne, and this isn't the Bobby that got to the top and won the title. And Kofi, planted that seed in him, saying, I think you've lost your focus. And that Raw before Money in the Bank, he said, basically, F this. I'm going to be the ass kicker again. And he did. That was a beatdown. And it was a really well beatdown because, Kofi, he's probably outweighed by 100 pounds to Lashley, and he was getting tossed around. So it was not it was surprising that match ended up being that way. I thought it would have been more competitive, but I wasn't mad that it turned out that way because it was really well done. It really did establish Lashley as being that badass that got him to the title in the first place.
It was because he got to say the word bullshit on Raw.
Oh, that was MVP, and I was like, and it didn't seem like the crowd caught it. I was like, I heard that. I know I heard it.
I guess bullshit's okay now. On USA, maybe just after 10 p.m. Eastern.
Right.
So who knows? Joe, you got any thoughts on the Lashley Kofi match?
This is a Lashley we needed. This, like we were saying, like they definitely planting the seeds with the whole champagne and the girls around, and like when Lashley came out on last Monday before Money in the Bank and said, I lost to Xavier Woods. That can't happen. And
the video game guy.
The video game guy.
Right.
And he just basically just started throwing everything around and just went, I'm just done. This is the Lashley we want. This is the Lashley that could reign, the almighty could reign supreme for 2021.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. This is what we need. But we are going to move on. Kevin, what do you think of the two Money in the Bank matches, specifically the winners?
I think we're all in agreement that Big E, fantastic winner, right? I did not see Nikki, almost a superhero, winning that match. Not at all. I really wanted Vega or Alexa Bliss to win. Alexa, just for the fact where her character, I get so excited to see what's next, and then I'm like, Jesus, this is terrible. And I'm like, give her the chance to win the title, and then it's like, this is terrible, and then it's just like, I don't want to give up on her because she's such a good talent. Like, and it was really cool to see her wearing the skirt thing and then rip it off to wear her shorts and I guess top thing. But I just wanted more from her. But Big E, I'm pumped, man. He just looks so excited, holding that briefcase with his crazy, so happy smile. That's an ass kicker, by the way, that I'll have him smile all the time. I want him to be cashing it in, hopefully successfully. They can't have him not be. It's just going to be exciting to see who he does it against, because I don't want him to beat it off Roman. Right? I would yeah, I kind of said that a little bit. But I wouldn't mind him going, maybe to Raw, challenging Bobby, maybe Survivor Series, but we'll see. I thought both matches were pretty well put together.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the men's match I watched live, and I feel like we all thought Big E was the favorite to win. Yep. And it makes sense. The women, I missed it live because I was flying back from Mexico. And I went back and watched it, and I thought it was a good match. I thought the women's match was well done. And, Nikki sneaking up above everybody I was okay with it. And I think that, the Nikki ASH character, it's obvious what they're doing. They're getting the female young girls, to sell merch to them. Now the crowds are back. You can probably buy masks and capes and everything else. So I'm okay with the Nikki ASH winning. Now the big thing for that night was the main event, Roman and Edge. Brian, I thought it was a perfect match. Thoughts?
A little slow at the beginning, but I think you have to do that because it was following up the men's Money in the Bank match, which for me is my leader right now of my favorite match of the year. I love that men's Money in the Bank match. I had everything that I want to see. So it was a little like slow going early on. I was kind of, but that second half, it really did kick into high gear. And the crowd was into it. The crowd was behind Edge. It's great to see, we kind of wondered how Roman would be treated by the crowd as far as like heel and face, and like all of us guys who the whole time with Roman were like, please be a heel, and we cheer for him. It's not as much. It's more so that they are booing him and for how that goes. So I think the ending was predictable, but I'm not mad at it because they've been teasing this Edge Seth Rollins conflict for a little while now. And so the ending was a little, the ref gets bumped. The replacement ref doesn't come out for like 3 minutes. So that's poor job by the officiating there. But it was a surprising result. But I think it did show, I'd have to look at what the time of the match was. I'm guessing it was maybe between 20 and 25 minutes. It shows that
31.
31. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So a little even longer. So that shows
it didn't feel like a 31-minute match.
Yeah. I wouldn't have said, like I said, 20, 25. Edge at whatever age he is now, 48, 49, he can still hold his own in a main event match like that. So kudos to all involved. And obviously we'll get into what happened in the immediate aftermath of that match.
Which means that is the John Cena return. Now, what we had, he said on the Tonight Show that I'm coming back. I don't know when. It was pretty obvious that, we thought it'd be the SmackDown. Obviously, it was the pay-per-view. And this is, of course, leading to the John Cena Roman Reigns match at SummerSlam that Kevin and I will be at live at Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm not just saying that because the other two guys aren't going to be there. I'm just saying that because, Kevin, we're going to go to you. When we met, you hated John Cena.
Hated him.
All these years later, what did you think of the return?
I was excited, right?
Look at that smile.
Wow.
We knew he was coming back. And this is my biggest thing. I'm kind of torn for SummerSlam too, because you're gonna go, let's go Cena. Cena sucks. I so want to yell Cena sucks. Not just the point where I think he sucks. It's just I want to say both of them, just to have fun on both sides. I thought his return was awesome. It was fantastic how Roman, talked, and then Cena came out very quick, and then he talked a lot more on Monday Night Raw, which is fantastic. Opening the show, I loved it. It makes me so. This is probably the first time since his U.S. Open challenge where I'll see him live, and I'll be excited as seeing him live. So I love this return. I think it's great.
Brian or Joe, did either of you not like it?
No, I enjoyed it. I was like, we pretty much predicted it was going to happen. I don't know if anyone watched what he talked to the crowd afterwards when they went off air. On WWE.com. I love the fact that he acknowledged that I'm not used to you not saying Cena sucks. And I can't believe there's a sign out here that says, if Cena arrives, we'll cheer, instead of if Cena wins, we riot. So that was a cool moment for the crowds. And you needed a guy like John Cena to come back for the crowds.
There was a great GIF I saw on Twitter that someone posted of like Vince McMahon laughing, and it was like, live look at Vince showing that he never needed to turn Cena heel to make us all cheer for him again. I was like, son of a bitch.
Well, funny you say that, because I don't know if any of you caught it on his entrance. He put up the 2 sweet on his way out.
Interesting, right?
And of course, everybody wanted originally John Cena to turn heel. Well, I have come up with 2 surefire ways to make that happen.
Ooh.
It starts number 1 at SummerSlam. John Cena and Roman Reigns. We'll give him 23 and a half minutes. And then Paul Heyman will do what Paul Heyman has done to RVD, The Big Show, Brock Lesnar, and CM Punk. He will turn on Roman Reigns to go with John Cena. Now, I don't know if that's really going to get everybody to boo John Cena as the heel. However, option number 2, the night after SummerSlam, John Cena comes out. I don't even care if he's the champ or not. He gets interrupted by Becky Lynch. If you remember, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, they had a little interaction where she went up to him and did the "you can't see me." What if she interrupts John Cena and he drops her right in the center of the ring?
They won't do that with being PG and shareholders. Like, the men and women don't interact like that anymore.
Reginald has wrestled many women as of late.
Yeah, women will hit the men, but the men can't hit the women. He's
had matches with women. He's had matches with the women.
Well, yeah, I remember Randy giving the
RKO turn the
to
channel
Alexa.
On Reginald. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, if he did, good for him.
Not gonna fault you for that, but yeah, there's a borderline there. Jay, I mean, I think ideas are good. I don't see it happening, but they're good ideas.
Predictions, not spoilers.
Right.
Anyway, we're going to move on to Monday Night Raw. Goldberg appeared. If he puts over Lashley, I'm completely okay with it. If he wins the title, I have a real problem with this. We'll start with you, Joe. What do you think about Bill Goldberg?
I don't mind that he's back. I mean, Brian and I were talking about this on Sunday. I like the fact that Goldberg has an open door to the WWE after his first run. You never thought that would happen. And I like to hear good things happen. But I'd rather see Goldberg face someone like Ziggler, like he did at SummerSlam a few years ago, because it's still the attraction of Goldberg. But it's not for anything except for people to see Goldberg beat up someone. So to see I would rather see at SummerSlam Goldberg versus John Morrison. I think Morrison would take that spear like a boss. So I don't think it should be with Lashley. I like to see him, but I don't think it should be for anything except for crowd entertainment. 2 minutes, jackhammer spear, done.
Kevin?
The crowd was hot chanting that Goldberg chant on Monday night.
They always are, and I wonder how much of that was piped in.
That crowd, when they were loud, they were loud. Like, I think the crowd was just excited to get back. That's why I think SummerSlam, I'll be chanting Goldberg so loud. I think him coming back for the nostalgia factor. I think I read he had 2 more matches he has to compete in 2021 or something on his current contract. Lashley should win 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. I think Goldberg, like Joe mentioned, he'll get a spear in, he'll get a jackhammer in. Bobby will then kick out on both and then beat him up and just destroy him to make Bobby look better, which is, what should happen. There's no way Goldberg's going to win, but I would like to see a little whooping at the end from Bobby just to seal the deal, beat up normal people, beat up legends, doesn't make a difference. Doesn't need to beat them off,
No, I hear you. So, Joe, I guarantee after Raw went off the air Monday night, you could not wait. You've been counting down the minutes to right now. Nikki Ash cashed in her Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, go ahead.
I turned off Raw after Karrion Kross. I was done.
What?
Turned it off. I was like, let's talk about the most important thing that happened on Raw. The joke of Karrion. We'll talk about that later, but I turned it off. Like, I even told the fellas, I'm like, I'm done. So the next morning I get the text message that says, wowza, and wow, like wowie or whatever.
Wowza's mine.
Usually, what he always puts out when there's a title.
I believe I said yowie wowie. Yes.
Yeah, whatever. Kevin's typical yowie wowie means there was a title change on Raw. So I go and read the spoilers, and I went, I'm glad I turned it off. I ended up I think I watched an Everybody Loves Raymond rerun instead of Raw after I was done. That's how bad. Nothing else was on.
Wow.
Yeah, I turned it off.
I was
Karrion
waiting.
Kross.
I
Done.
was waiting. I was waiting to hear it because as much as I love Charlotte Flair, but
No, I didn't care.
wow.
I may not watch this Monday after that. I thought it was a joke.
Here's what's interesting. I normally will watch it and fast forward through things. I watched it live, and I thought Raw was good. I thought it was a good show. Now I understand what everyone's pissed off about, and Brian will go to you. What's interesting, Joe? I thought you would hit me with the most overwhelming fact about the women's Money in the Bank briefcase, but you didn't do it. The fact that 3 out of the 4 winners have cashed in against Charlotte Flair.
Because she's always champ.
I thought you would know that.
Well, I know the one who didn't. It was Alexa Bliss on Nia Jax.
Ronda and Nia, yeah.
Ronda wasn't the champ. Nia was, but yeah.
All right, Brian.
Yeah.
You were the most vocal on Twitter about Karrion Kross. Let's have it. Karrion Kross made his debut against Jeff Hardy. Let's hear what you think.
I'm still upset about this. NXT is my favorite brand, and Kross has been built up as this undefeated monster that we have had multiple discussions on our show about who's next for Kross. Who could possibly beat him? He's like unbeatable. He's on Raw for some reason. He doesn't have what's her name? His lady, Scarlett.
Wow.
For some reason.
NXT.
Sorry,
NXT.
that was a beer moment, not a.
I don't
know her name. We don't have Scarlett. We're facing Jeff Hardy. And Jeff Hardy is a surefire Hall of Famer, but he wasn't on the pay-per-view. He's just kind of a bit player at this point. And he loses in 2 minutes.
Minute 39.
Yes, under 2 minutes. So there's a right way to do this if you want to follow the pattern of random NXT appearance on Raw. You guys remember when Kevin Owens showed up on Raw and challenged Cena, and he held up the title and he powerbombed him, Papa powerbombed him. That's how you do it. You can't do this if you want to take NXT as a serious brand, and there's your unbeatable champion, and you have him lose his debut match. Okay, yes, Hardy's feet were on the ropes, and that was clearly acknowledged and everything. I'm sorry, it's gonna take a hell of a lot to rebuild all the damage that was done from that Monday. And we'll get into it, but I was almost hate watching NXT on Wednesday to say, how are they gonna force a habit. NXT on Tuesday to see how are they gonna address this, and we'll get into it later. But I mean, wow, I don't see any optimism in how that went on Monday.
I have the optimism, and here it comes. So like you said, Jeff Hardy is a 20-year veteran, surefire Hall of Famer, and he did cheat to beat Karrion Kross. And I think that's going to be a big part of this story. It's going to be a lot of Hardy ducking Kross. First off, this is all contingent if Kross is going to be on Raw for the next couple weeks.
Right.
I feel like it's leading to a match, Kross and Hardy at SummerSlam. Probably the pre-show, not the point. I feel like because of Jeff's 20 years in the business, he knew he could not compete with Kross on a strike-for-strike level. So therefore, he had to do what he had to do. He took advantage of the situation, and he got the win. Now, over the next couple weeks, Kross is probably going to kill Jeff Hardy. And, I think it's a great story to build up a powerhouse. Now, the Scarlett thing, the only reason why I think maybe she wasn't there, actually, there's 2 reasons. One, he wasn't going to have the elaborate entrance. Like, he had the music and he walked out. There was no smoke. There was no posing. There was none of that shit. And 2, maybe actually I have 3. So maybe Vince didn't want to pay because Scarlett didn't offer anything for something for what'd you say, Kevin? A minute 29?
39.
39? No reason to bring her up for that. Maybe she'll be like Zelina Vega was for Andrade. Kross lost. But then, he brings, Scarlett shows up, gets him on the right track, kills Hardy. And then 3, maybe they want to make Scarlett a wrestler at NXT. Now, I don't know if that means they split them at NXT, but overall, while it sucked, because I love Karrion Kross, I don't think it's that big a deal. A lot of us have NXT PSD. I get it. I get it.
Yep,
This is one of those cases that I think we have to wait and see before we all lose our shit. Joe, you're shaking your head no.
I love the fact that you are just so positive of
right.
Let's see the bigger picture. Like a lot of optimism. Okay, let's go back to what you said. Oh, this is going to build something big for Jeff Hardy versus Karrion. Was anyone asking for Jeff Hardy to be at SummerSlam?
Here's what's great about Jeff.
No, okay, but here's what's great about Jeff. He's a 20-year veteran. He can always. But this was a slap in the face to not just Karrion Kross. This was a slap in the face to Adam Cole.
Right.
This was a slap in the face to Johnny Gargano. This was a slap in the face to Tommaso Ciampa. This is a slap in the face to Keith Lee. This is a slap in the face to every single NXT wrestler who put him over the past year and made him a powerhouse. So what they did in 1 minute, 31 seconds, is that right, Kevin? What they did in that time
139.
39.
What they did in that
right,
time, 1 minute, 39 seconds.
Terrible.
What they did in that 1 minute, 39 seconds, not counting the terrible entrance and the fact that they said Karrion Kross coming up next, make it a surprise. But no, they don't have any respect for NXT. This was a Vince McMahon dick swinging contest. That's
wow.
What it was.
You actually said something offensive. Wow.
That's how much I could not stand it. And that's why I turned off Raw. And I'm probably not watching this week. Because there's no point. There's no point. That was a total disrespect to the entire NXT roster. Everyone who put him over to make him a powerhouse is all gone now. You notice they had to make Karrion Kross not at NXT on Tuesday. He had to be a taped segment. Why? Because they were chanting Jeff Hardy the entire night.
Or the fact that they pre-recorded a lot of shit for Olympics coverage, but that's beside the point. Go ahead, Joe.
But yeah, it's like they can't even have him in there. He's a tarnished brand. And here's the thing: shouldn't Samoa Joe just destroy him whenever they get a chance to face each other? Because Jeff Hardy did in 1:39. Got it right, Kevin.
This is the thing about that. When they put up that graphic,
I see no hope.
What was the graphic?
Where it was Karrion Kross versus Jeff Hardy coming up, right?
Okay.
Nobody thought Karrion was going to lose. I was like, fuck, they got to throw Jeff to the wolves. They got to show Jeff look terrible, let alone, I think I was listening to another podcast. And I think they said in 2021, Jeff's record is 6-30. 6 wins, 30 losses.
Pretty good.
Yeah. No one expected it. He got Karrion Kross on his back at one point. He got off the swanton at one point in 1:39. Less than 2 minutes. Hardy got way too much offense in. This has to be a slow burn. If this doesn't have the slow burn for Karrion to go on a rampage in NXT and Raw, both shows, not just one, both shows. I'll be over Karrion in 3 months just for the fact they have to have something in store. And I really hope they have something in store because storylines on Raw are not the best at times.
What do you mean? We got to see Nia and Shayna Baszler versus Tamina and Natalya finally with fans.
The best thing about that match, Joe, was seeing Reginald do his acrobatic stuff after he won that 24/7 belt. By the way,
parkour.
Hell yeah, Reggie.
Parkour Reggie.
I was disappointed when Karrion lost. And then he did a really weird promo in the ring, like I'm coming TikTok. I'm just like, okay, it's cheesy. It's really cheesy after you just got beat on Raw. But like, I don't know. I wish he would have went on NXT and was like,
I'm going to work my way back up so I can go back to something. But like,
that's a little iffy there, Kevin. I don't know about that. The I'm working my way back because he's the champ. Now, my thought to you, Joe, when you said slap in the face, this one, that one, the other. Raw is Raw, and technically NXT is below Raw. So that is another factor, I think, why they're like, well, we're not going to have this guy come up and just beat.
But Brian said it perfectly when KO came up. Or what about when Adam Cole came up and faced Daniel Bryan after the Saudi fiasco? I mean, like, that's how you treat a champion of a brand that you're trying to build up. Yeah. That just says don't bother watching on Tuesday. And then Triple H has to do it. Then Triple H has to do an interview saying we have to build the brand up. Nope, it just got destroyed.
Yeah, I mean,
in
Jay,
1 minute 39 seconds.
What you're saying is right, Jay. It's like,
I agree.
And there's a whole thing about like the continuity that Vince or whoever just goes like, what happens on NXT doesn't necessarily translate to Raw and vice versa. Yeah. But for us as fans of the brand, it's disheartening to have it slapped in the face like that of what happened to Carrie. And it's like, oh man, so I'm not supposed to care about this. Like,
well, I think
it really hurt me.
I feel like it's supposed to be treated as two separate shows, two separate storylines,
right?
Two separate universes. Joe, you and I are the Marvel guys, that type of deal. But we will move on. I did not get to see NXT. Brian, we're going to let you run through any big things that happened. I did see Samoa Joe got like 3 new T-shirts. Which is random for a guy that's not supposed to be wrestling. But what happened? Kind of give us the quick run through on NXT.
Yeah, so it started off with Joe. If you remember maybe you don't, but the show before, he was the ref for Kross versus Johnny Gargano. And so at the end of the match, Kross put Joe to sleep. And so he started off basically saying, I've been provoked and I'm waiting for Kross to show up and we're going to go after it. And so that's great because Samoa Joe is such a fun performer and you love seeing that. But yeah, it was like, in the back of my head the whole time, I'm like, what's Kross going to do? Because is Jeff Hardy going to attack him? It was just so bizarre. So nevertheless, that played out. And at the end, he ended up Kross showed up and took out William Regal. So that story is continuing as far as like, Joe hasn't gotten his revenge. The other things were just the fun continuation of Butler Cameron Grimes. He's playing it perfect. We were so like LA Knight has to win because we know this is going to mean some fun stuff. And it's great because he plays the like, I'm doing what I have to do, but he's still kind of like, bugging LA Knight with it. So LA Knight, ended up taking on Drake Maverick, and he kind of helped Drake get the roll-up win and have that surprise. But then that moment after of LA Knight forcing Grimes to punch Drake, and the whole crowd like, not do it, but he did it because he's bound by the contract. That's so great. So that was a big part. And then the only other thing was the main event. I don't know if you guys caught this, but it was Raquel Gonzalez and Xia Li, and there seemed to be a shoot injury to Xia Li where I hadn't seen this, but Gonzalez did kind of like a, Lee's on the ground by the corner, and it would have been like Gonzalez doing like a Vader bomb splash, but she turned in midair and like so the back hit her. I hadn't really seen that. It was really well done, but Xia Li at least apparently seemed injured. It was for a couple minutes, like literally 2 to 3 minutes of refs and doctors checking on her with Gonzalez on the opposite corner. And they quote unquote deemed her okay to continue. And they basically picked her up and put her finisher on her, which is like a huge slam. It's like, God, it seemed like she like busted her ribs. And I did tweet out, I'm like, boy, that seemed very reckless if that was a legit injury. The reports afterwards say that she's doing okay. So maybe a little unsure if it was a shoot or whether it was all part of the story. But that was a little weird. I thought that was it came out surprising to me. So NXT rolls on, man. Yeah, good show. Nothing, kind of leading into future things. So that's kind of how it all took place on Tuesday.
Yeah, I did not get to watch NXT yet, but that Cameron Grimes story just sounds awesome. I can't wait to see that. So that moves on to Wednesday and AEW Dynamite. Now, what I found interesting was that days after he destroys Zack Ryder with a pizza cutter to the mouth, Nick fucking Gage gets to show up on AEW Dynamite against Chris Jericho as part of the Trials of Jericho. What I love seeing Nick Gage. Let me start that again. I love seeing Nick fucking Gage. But it's obvious how this is going to go down. Jericho has to win all 5 matches to get to MJF. So, like,
right.
Nick fucking Gage is going to fucking lose.
Do the job. Yeah.
Love that. Now, unless, and this might be kind of corny, there's some sort of swerve where, Jericho gets to Nick Gage, but I'm afraid that'll make it look cheesy because Nick Gage is, a fucking gangster, like real life shit, like, MDK. So I don't know. Any thoughts on how this Nick Gage Jericho thing is going to play out?
Well,
go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
I'm just curious because of his style and how it is and how much of that will it be a watered down version because it's on TNT and this huge national platform. I don't know. We'll have to see. He came out with the pizza cutter, so I can't wait to find out. I really can't.
Any chance this is pre-taped?
No.
There'll be a crowd, so I would say no, but
I don't remember where they're supposed to be next week. I don't remember.
Don't know, but I don't think it matters where. It's just the fact it's gonna be a live.
That's
crowd.
true. Yeah, they could do like it's a backstage thing, or that's true.
Joe, what do you think of this, Nick Gage?
I never thought I'd see.
Sorry,
I never thought I'd see him on national television. Never thought I would. I just got to say that I love that MJF on Twitter afterwards said, no, I'm not friends with him. He's a mercenary that I hired, and I'm paying a lot of money to take out Jericho. I am not friends with this piece of trash. I'm like, oh, but MJF staying in character. Right. It was a surprise. It wasn't the pop that I was expecting because I was a little late to AEW. I turned it on later, so when we get the text message saying, "Wow, are you watching?" I was expecting something bigger, but
we'll get into get into that later.
It was cool to see, but Jericho's gonna win because he has to.
Yeah, I knew a little bit about Nick Gage before Darkseid and the other guys. You guys kind of are following into it. Like, I honestly have no idea how this is going to play out. And next Wednesday, I don't have to be at work, so I will literally be able to watch this live because I will be in front of my TV to watch this live. Unlike recent weeks, honestly, with AEW this week, I loved seeing Moxley against the Murder Hawk.
Yep,
that's not a Murder Hawk; that's a dog. If you're just listening, Brian just put his dog on camera. The
Lucy
Murder Hawk. For the New Japan US title, and then Lance Archer did win. He won the title, but a great violent Texas death match, kinda, because it was in Garland, Texas. But I'm excited for that, and we don't really talk a lot about New Japan, and I did buy tickets to the New Japan Resurgence.
I was seeing that. Yeah,
it's happening on August 14th at the LA Coliseum in Los Angeles, California. I did buy tickets. I have some friends that are working on that show, and I wanted to see what it's like to see a New Japan show. Now, it's not going to be Okada and all the New Japan guys, but there's going to be Mox is going to be there. Jay White's going to be there. A lot of the New Japan LA Dojo guys are going to be there. All right, Brian's wife. It's going to be a great show, but I bring all this up not just because of the New Japan US title. We don't talk a lot of Impact on this show. Jay White showed up at Slammiversary over the weekend, and obviously we're recording this on Thursday night, so he is supposed to show up on Impact tonight as well. Jay White, one of those guys that if not in New Japan, he would be courted by WWE or AEW. And I think it's pretty awesome that he is going to show up on U.S. soil, and we could end up getting the Omega Jay White, which happened in New Japan 3 years ago. Jay White is 1-0 against Kenny Omega. And I just think that this is great for all wrestling. You know, Joe, I know you're not super into New Japan at all, but like, does this excite you to hear that some of these guys, these big stars from other countries, are making their way on the U.S. Properties?
Absolutely. It's great for wrestling all around. It actually got me interested in Impact because it's like I knew of Jay White and I knew of him in Omega, and just to have him come out like with Omega on Impact, not AEW, took away that whole thing where I felt like Omega was disrespecting the championship. Not anymore. Right, Angela? Yeah. Exactly.
Brian, any thoughts on the New Japan guys making their way to U.S. soil and U.S. TV shows?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, it's getting to be madness at this house. The bigger picture that involves your question, Jay, is I think with AEW right now, they have hit this sweet spot of coming up with surprises and things that we don't expect. And somebody put it on Twitter after Wednesday's Dynamite that in one night you had wrestlers on the 2-hour Dynamite from AEW, from Impact, from New Japan, and from Game Changer Wrestling with Nick FN Gage. I'm like, that's really, really cool. So I'm loving what they're doing. It definitely has that feeling of just unpredictability. So, excuse me, and New Japan, because that challenger after what's his name?
After Archer won the title.
After Archer won, yeah, I wasn't familiar with him, but obviously know the Bullet Club name. And yeah, so how cool is that for AEW to have all these giant things coming? Yes, yeah, he's bigger than Archer. Yeah, that was shocking.
6'8".
That was shocking.
6'8", and he looked like Rey Mysterio compared to him.
Right. So how cool is that, man? So yeah, love, the world's starting to open up again. So anything like that, whether it's on AEW or Impact, like Jay White's appearance, definitely has my interest. Really cool.
And with all of these new people showing up on all these other shows, I got to ask you guys about GCW Homecoming. It's this Saturday. It's Zack Ryder against Nick fucking Gage.
It's Matt Cardona.
No, it's Zack Ryder, Z-A-C-H. He spelled it on TV. Are you guys going to watch GCW Homecoming on the Fight app? It's about $10 to watch. It's very inexpensive compared to a regular pay-per-view. Will you guys watch?
I'm 50-50, and it's not because the value's fine. I'm excited to see the match. It's just let's see how Saturday night goes. Is it 8 p.m. Eastern time?
Yes. 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I just got to see how the night lines up. But yes, it's in the back of my head to do this because it's a very, very cool thing, and I might want to pony up my money to check it out. Totally fine with that.
What about you, Joe?
I'm on the fence of more towards no, but I will try to check it out on like YouTube later.
I can PayPal you $10 if you need.
No, it's not about the money. It's about the fact of like, do I want to watch the rest of the show?
Dude, the rest of the show, you know what? I feel like you should watch it. And anybody listening to this who has never watched a GCW show, please just get it. Just experience it. Grab a 6-pack, grab it some wings and a pizza, and just enjoy the insanity that GCW brings you don't get on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, because it is definitely worth it. And, what's crazy to me, this is the match I wanted. I was getting it. And then I'm like, I don't know if I want this. Because when it wasn't happening, it felt real. And then when it was, I'm like, oh, it's just a work. And I got worked into a shoot or whatever that Hulk Hogan tweet is. But like, it was a great build. Zack Ryder showed up at the GCW show. Nick Gage showed up at the Toy Podcast. Like, it's a great build to a great story, but God damn it, if I have to hear Zack Ryder say fuck, it just reminds me of like a small child saying fuck. It just doesn't work with that guy. And the more I see videos of him and, you know, all his trolling, all that bullshit, I seriously hope Nick Gage gives him the 150. And if you don't know what that means, that's 150 stitches with the pizza cutter in the mouth, on the face, light tubes. And if someone needs to go through a detolf, because Zack Ryder is into the detolf and toys. Moving on. Brian's man crush, Sean Ross Sapp, yesterday puts a tweet out that says CM Punk has been in talks for potential return to the ring. Then it was Daniel Bryanson, because Sean Ross Sapp, the professional that he is, cannot say the fucking name Bryan Danielson, is going to AEW. Now, a lot of sites posted Wednesday night, right after AEW ended, that Daniel Bryan has officially signed to AEW, which is wonderful. But did Bryan Danielson sign? Daniel Bryan cannot sign to AEW. Bryan Danielson can. Brian, we'll go to you first. You love Sean Ross Sapp. What do you think of the Punk and Bryan rumors?
If these do happen, we have to acknowledge that AEW could become the number one brand as popularity in sports entertainment. I think those two guys are huge needle movers. Punk, obviously, he's been gone for a long, long time in wrestling, but he drew so many eyeballs from the pipe bomb. You know, it's funny, we just had like the 10-year anniversary of that, right? So there's that. And I mean, Daniel Bryan was just in the main event of WrestleMania. The Yes Movement from WrestleMania 30 is a huge historic moment. So I do think if those two guys go, that it could mark a shift in power, if you will, of popularity in wrestling. So we'll see. I mean, it's you know, there's always that spoilers, not spoilers. What, you know, when's it going to happen? You kind of want to be surprised. Mm-hmm. It would be big. It would be huge. I mean, the only other thing I'll say though, I mean, I said it when Christian signed, is like AEW was supposed to be different, and they've just been keep bringing in these quote unquote WWE guys. Do you start to get that, you know, feeling of it's not different anymore? But right. I'm excited to see what happens.
Joe,
what were the two adjectives again that Cody explained?
New and fresh. New and fresh. Fresh and new.
Oh yeah, we got it right this time. That's right.
I asked Joe never
Jason,
knew.
Right.
I flipped it.
Yes.
Anyway, if Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, comes to AEW and CM Punk comes to AEW, that's great. It'll push the needle, but they won't be the number one company. They may get a 83 weeks run, but no one's taking down WWE.
Right.
They're just something different. And that's good. That's a good thing. We've been waiting for this for 20 years and we finally got it. So let's stop with the whole who's going to be on top ratings. Let's just watch and enjoy.
What I hate the most is that nothing can be a surprise anymore.
Agreed.
We're all going to Brian's house for All Out. Can you imagine the excitement level after a day of overpriced craft beers and smoked meat that we're gonna have if CM Punk shows up? It's gone.
In Chicago, yeah.
I think that reports, rumors, whatever you call them, suck. They ruin wrestling. And I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper. I'm not trying to say I'm the be all end all, but come on. Like, how many times have we said on this show, it would have been cooler if we didn't know? Andrade out of the blue was great. It was very cool. I mean, hell, even Wednesday, Nick fucking Gage.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So cool because we didn't know.
Malachi Black. We didn't know because it was only 30 days.
You know, I seriously hope that what I tweeted on Wednesday comes true. And that is, I hope all this in-ring wrestling talk about Punk is just because he has a cameo on the new Stars show called Heels. I seriously hope that's what happens, and we do not get CM Punk at this time back in the world of professional wrestling. And as far as Brian Danielson, I don't give a shit. I don't. He's not a needle mover for me. And Brian, I have to disagree with you in when you say that AEW could be the number one. No, they'll never be number one. No one will ever be number one. And yes, Punk and Bryan going to AEW, huge. Outsider adjacent if both of them come at the same time, but not enough to make them the number one show.
Time will tell. We'll see.
I just wish none of this shit would have come out yesterday. Now, if it came out yesterday and Nick Gage was CM Punk, then Jericho had to go through. I'm over it. You know, we've talked about spoilers on the show. We don't like to do it. And this stuff, reports, rumors, but like all these idiots online, look, man, we're not journalists. Because I'm sure somewhere someone's listening like, you guys think you're journalists, you're doing a podcast. No, we're just four schmucks that like to talk about wrestling. And it just so happens I have editing software to put this out to the world. I just wish there could be some surprises, big surprises, and people like Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful who have reports or rumors. It just fucking ruins it for everybody. Am I going way too dramatic here, or am I making any sense, Brian?
I see it both ways. I hate to be that lame guy in the middle, but listen, yeah, they're journalists. That's their job to do, and wrestling, you can choose to go one way or the other, where you want to be living in kayfabe and have no idea of the inner workings of contracts and who's going where and what. Totally get it. And the surprise is worth it. I live that world on like the day of WrestleMania and the day of the Rumble, where I won't touch Twitter and I won't touch the wrestling sites. But during the week, on regular weeks, I'm usually all about getting the scoops, and I love texting you guys going, hey, look at this. So I see it both ways. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I get it. However you want to do it is totally cool.
Joe, am I crazy?
You're not crazy, but I basically, if you don't want to know, then you don't have to look.
Yeah,
it's like you're upset that you saw your Christmas gifts looking for them in your mom's closet, and then when you open them up on Christmas morning, you're like, "Oh man, I knew I was getting this already."
Right.
What were you doing looking at these sites and going on Twitter and all that stuff anyway? There are ways to avoid it.
Yeah, but unfortunately, when the group text sends that CM Punk is talking about a return to the ring, it makes it kind of hard.
Well, you know what? We'll blame Kevin for that one, because he's the one who sent that. Actually, it was Brian who sent it, but Kevin's not here to defend himself, so screw that guy.
That Wrestling Podcast presents The 5 Count.
For this week's 5 Count, I believe it was Joe that came up with the idea. With the lackluster performance of Karrion Kross on Monday Night Raw this week, it is the top 5 bad debuts. Go ahead, Joe. We'll let you go first this week.
And they have to be debuts, not returns. So like, someone like Triple H coming back from an injury or anything like that, those don't count. These have to be debuts in a new company. And I'll start us off. All right. Number 5, not his fault, but I got to go with Christian Cage in TNA and AEW. Both of them.
Ooh,
let's hear me out.
A double whammy.
Do you remember his debut in TNA?
I don't.
Okay. It should have been a big deal, but unfortunately, Eddie Guerrero died that day.
Oh,
so all the story was on Eddie Guerrero, not Christian being like the first one to jump from WWE to TNA.
So he cheated Christian out of his moment.
Yes, and then the other one, the second one.
Oh, that Eddie, what a river.
That Eddie. Oh, he likes to lie and cheat and steal. He stole Christian's moment. But
living the gimmick till the end.
The other one wasn't his fault either because Big Show hyped him up too much.
Oh, too bad.
So like it's like you feel bad because Christian he should have been a bigger deal in both of them, but his debuts were like, don't really
That's fair.
care.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Number 4. Vignettes of some weird old ghosts looking into a boy's window. I'm talking about 7 in WCW.
Yes.
When Dustin Rhodes came back and floated to the ring and went, by the way, my name's 7 and this gimmick is stupid. It was just like, okay, that's done. Awesome. Don't need to talk much more about that. Number 3 from WCW in July of 1998. I was excited for 1 minute. Unfortunately, he rambled on for 28 about nothing. I have no idea what he was talking about. Warriors, speak to me. Warriors' debut in WCW was a train wreck, and we knew what was going to happen. The only entertaining thing he said out of his 28 minutes of rambling was he asked if the disciple was Hogan's barber.
That's
2.
funny. That's fucking funny.
That was, but it was in the first minute.
I don't care. That's so funny.
All right, number 2. It's famous for me because Undertaker thought he was going to be Eggman. Number 2 is the Gobbledygooker.
Okay. Yep.
That terrible debut.
Eggman.
Dancing with Me, Gene. Am I going to be the Eggman? And number 1 should not come as a shock to anyone. I'm talking about the Shockmaster. Worst debut ever. What not to do when debuting a new wrestler.
Had he not tripped, he would have been fine.
Yep.
Nope. I think the Stormtrooper bedazzled helmet also was pretty bad.
I think it would have been okay.
Either way, it was a terrible debut. Jason, what about you? What do you think?
So number 5, I have 7 as well with WCW 1999, fresh off the Gold Dust run. Dustin Rhodes basically showed up as like Uncle Fester from the Addams Family. And so you were right. They did have the vignettes of him looking into a child's room. Well, Dustin came to the ring, floated to the ring, which was cool. And he said that he wanted to be himself, but creative said Dustin was boring. When in actuality, Turner Standards and Practices said the whole child abductor thing was a no-go. I think that could have been fun. Unfortunately, with the too much, just like the Gold Dust gimmick, it was, I don't know. I would have liked to have seen what it could have happened with it, but unfortunately that did not happen. Number 4, Fantasio. In 1995, of course, wrestlers had to have side gigs. Fantasio was a magician. He made 1 television appearance against Tony DeVito and won. He also made 1 house show appearance against Rad Radford and won. So basically, Fantasio is the only undefeated wrestler in the history of professional wrestling.
He had a good
He's
run.
my number 4. Number 3, Kofi Kingston Man from Jamaica.
Oh,
whoa.
Fake Jamaican accent. When they start calling it out, and even like today, they'll make little subtle hints. Kofi Kingston, Jamaican Kofi Kingston Man. What was the phrase, Brian?
Jamaican me crazy, Kofi. Shout out to Mike Adamley.
Number 2, the Gobbledygooker. The egg was shown on TV throughout 1990. It hatched its Survivor Series. Giant Bird, played by Hector Guerrero. The crowd was dead for it, but it was not the worst. Not the worst on my 5 count. Number 1, 1984. Any guesses? This is taking too long. Bret Hart, BRETTHART in the WWE. They wanted Bret Hart to be a cowboy.
Oh yeah.
He was from Canada. Luckily, he was not a cowboy, and this was pre-sunglasses era. He had blue and black trunks, or blue singlet with the black pants. And then he was just a wrestler. And then eventually they put him with Neidhart and Hart Foundation. Everything's good. But Bret Hart, one of the greatest of all time. And I'm glad Kevin's not here because he may have either cried because Bret Hart was number one on my list or fought me about it because Bret Hart is his favorite wrestler of all time. So that's my 5 count. Brian, what do you got for top 5 bad?
Oh yeah, I got a couple that have been said, but I have a couple that have not been said, and I'm happy about that. My number 5 is Emelina. You guys remember Emelina? So let me set the stage. This was October 3rd, 2016 on Raw. A vignette was run teasing a makeover of Emma to Emelina. Guys, they ran those coming soon vignettes for over 4 months. She didn't come. This is October. She doesn't come out until finally February 13th. It's a whole new year. It's 2017. And she comes out on stage and says, "I'm Emelina. And I'm saying goodbye to Emelina." She walked off the stage and she was Emma the next week. How bad is that? They built that up.
Well, they tried this like 4 different times at this point. And now Eva is the new Emma, for the new Carmella, which is the new Emelina, which is the new, whatever one before. But it's just Vince McMahon with a blonde chick that is hot. I'm
just glad, at least with Eva Marie, it didn't take 4 months of waiting. And I feel like they did like 3, and then they're like, okay, now she's here.
Yeah.
All right, so that's my number 5. My number 4 is 7. You guys have said it all, everything. And that's exactly what you had, Joe. Number 4 was 7. Mm-hmm. My number 3, Ultimate Warrior in WCW. Your number 3, Joe. So we're completely in lockstep. Nothing more needs to be said about that one either. My number 2, Buff Bagwell on Monday Night Raw at the start of the WCW WWF invasion. So it was a WCW match, first time ever, and it was Booker T versus Buff Bagwell on Raw. And Buff was one of those guys in WCW that you thought would fit in well with Raw because he was very charismatic. He had a great look, pretty good in the ring, but him and Booker just did not click that night. And he was quote unquote shoot fired that night where at the end of that match, Angle and Austin attacked him and continued to beat him out of the building. And you never saw him on Raw again. So didn't think it would go like that. So that's my number 2. My number 1, coming off the heels of the second ECW One Night Stand, where Rob Van Dam won the championship and ECW back in business on Sci-Fi, the Zombie. And I should have known in that moment that I shouldn't watch this show, but I was such a diehard ECW fan that they brought out a fucking zombie only to get caned by the Sandman.
Well, NXT's on Sci-Fi the next couple weeks. The Zombie return? Question mark. Should we 6-pack bet that one, Brian? I mean, come on.
I'm pulling up Sean Ross Sapp's Twitter right now. Let's see if he's got the scoop. Yeah, so the Zombie's my number 1. It was just a disaster and set the stage for what ended up being such a letdown of a show and promotion.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million of these things, and if you could search online for bad debuts and stuff. But overall, that was our 5 count for this week's show.
Who made your 5 count? Let us know on social media using the hashtag TWP5count.
So that is a wrap for this week's show. First week back. Again, if you listened to the Brews Next episode 2 weeks ago with Reagan Long from Local Brewing Co., talking about that Mr. Perfect IPA that is unfortunately sold out until next spring. And of course, Brian sit down with Jason Jones from The Athletic. Brian, what is Jason's wrestling podcast again? What's it called?
It's a great name. It's called Yes, I'm Watching Wrestling. Which is
so when you get done listening to this podcast, make sure to go check out Jason Jones' podcast. Yes, I watch wrestling. Joe, Brian, Kevin, wherever you are, thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow us on social media at thatwrestlepod. And I meant to say thanks for being on the show because, at thatwrestlepod. Don't forget to pick up the logo shirt or the bruised neck shirt at whatamaneuver.net. And we will talk to you next week on That Wrestling Podcast.
Thanks for listening. Follow That WrestlePod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
1, 2, 3, that's it!